everyone. I really just wanted to make a little video to kind of explain my birth story. So pretty much it all started at about 4:30 a.m. April 26th. I woke up in the middle, at 4:30 a.m. and I was having like these stomach cramping feelings that I hadn't really felt before, and I felt them in my back, so it was a little uncomfortable but not super painful. So I got up and I went to the restroom, and when I went to pee, I kind of felt like my water broke at the same time, but it was really hard to tell because I was going to pee. So it just seemed like there was too much fluid, too much water. Anyway, so I wasn't sure, and I ended up going back to sleep because I wasn't really in pain or anything. So I went to sleep, and then I realized that throughout from 4:30 to about 7:30, I kept having, those cramping feelings again in my back, and I was thinking, okay, well maybe these are, early contractions coming on because I haven't had that feeling before. And so I started timing them. And they were super irregular and really sporadic. They would last maybe 20 seconds and be 7 minutes apart or 20 minutes apart or 5 minutes apart, and I was literally up off and on from 4:30 to 7:30. So when I woke up at 7:30, went to the restroom and noticed things weren't really right, and so I woke Joey up and I said, I think this baby's coming sooner than we think. And so we ended up going to the hospital. I let them know, hey, I think my water broke, but I'm not sure because I was going to the restroom. And they're like, okay, well, we'll check you. So, they admitted me. They put me on the monitor, and it showed that I was having contractions, but they were irregular, and they tested to see if my water broke with this little pH strip, and they said, no, it didn't, you're still intact. And I was like, okay. I don't know, maybe I was just super tired when I went to the restroom. So I was kind of feeling like when I was having the irregular contractions, my nurses were like, yeah, you're in early labor, go home and do a lot of walking. This is gonna take a long time. You can go home and shower, eat, and then walk around the neighborhood, and then come back when your contractions are 5 minutes apart. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm in early labor. So I go home, and that's at about, I think we leave the hospital at about 9:30 in the morning, and we got to my house, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna shower, I'm gonna walk around the neighborhood. And Amanda told me that she was gonna come over and come walk around the neighborhood with me so we can get this process going. So I get home, and it's about 10:15 or so. So I take a shower. I'm starting to feel the contractions come on a little stronger, but still pretty far apart and still irregular. Maybe they were 10 minutes apart and then 15 minutes apart, and they were only lasting 20 seconds. So I was able to take a shower. I was doing my hair. Amanda had got here, and she started to help time the contractions for me, because I was doing my hair, and I actually have a picture of it. At about 12:08 p.m., this picture that I'm gonna put up was taken as I was curling my hair. I was still able to function, still able to, talk and walk and not be in excruciating pain. But literally maybe 20 minutes after that picture was taken, I started getting the worst contractions. So I had back labor, which is where the baby, her back was facing my back as well. So only 25% of women actually have that. So they say that she was sunny side up. So pretty much anytime I had a contraction, it was just compressing on my spine. And so I felt all the pain in my back. So I'm as she's timing them, she's saying, okay, these contractions are getting, closer and closer. I think at around 12:30, they were already 5 minutes apart. And I was like, I need to eat something. I haven't eaten anything, and once I get to the hospital, I'm not gonna be able to eat anything. So I get dressed really quickly as I'm having the contractions, trying to walk down the stairs. It was so super painful. Anyway, so we get downstairs, and my whole mood is shifted. At 12 o'clock, I was completely happy, excited, and then by 12:40, I was like, no, this is not okay. I don't know if I could wait any longer. Like, I gotta go now. And Joey is in the kitchen and he's like making all these hamburgers. He's got meat all over the place and he was like making them homemade. And he was like, well, let me just make you a, you know, a hamburger before we go. And I was like, no, like, I can't wait. Like, so I just like popped 2 toaster strudels in the toaster and I scarfed them down with a big glass of milk in between each contraction. So I literally had, about 4, it started to be like 4 minutes, and then the contractions were about maybe 25 to 30 seconds long. So I'm like scarfing down these toaster strudels and the milk, and once I'm done with that, the contractions are just like coming on, and I was like, okay, I gotta go. Like, I'm sorry, I cannot do this, like, because I was like, the pain was so bad, so I'm like bending over, like crying, and, you know, kind of like just making uncomfortable noises because it was super painful. And so I think, what time was it? Like maybe about 1 o'clock finally, I was like, yeah, I gotta go. Like, the contractions were already 3 minutes apart, and I was like, this is coming too fast, way too fast. So Joey has to leave all the meat, everything. It was all over the kitchen. And of course, you know, it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, there was traffic on the freeway. And so at this point in the car, my contractions are 3 minutes apart and they're for about a minute long. And so I'm like dying and like grabbing onto everything in the car, like screaming. It felt like it was like a movie, honestly. And Joey was timing them for me. So he's like, okay, you got about 3 minutes to relax before the next one comes on. And I'm like, oh my God, like, this is so painful. And you know, we have to take the 55 to the 5. Of course, the 5 freeway had like a ton of traffic. Finally, we end up, you know, getting to the hospital about like 1:30, 1:35. So I was in the car for that long with those horrible contractions. It was painful. So he pulls up, you know, to the hospital entrance, and they get me a wheelchair. And like, at this point, like, these contractions are just coming, and we're coming in hot. They reel me up there real quick, and the nurses were like, wait a minute, weren't you just here? Like, what's going on here? And I'm like crying, I'm bawling my eyes out, right? And so they get me in there, and you know, they hook me up to the IV, they get me the epidural. Well, first they check me, they're like, oh, you're already at 4 centimeters. And I was like, that was fast. I just left the hospital at 9:30. And so from 9:30 to 1:30, yeah, I was 4 centimeters. They put the epidural in, thank God. I don't know how people don't get the epidural. I mean, kudos to you, but I would not have been able to handle more pain as my labor progressed. Like, that was super, super painful. So anybody who's had back labor, they know what I'm feeling. Because I don't know what a contraction feels like in my stomach. I didn't feel anything in my stomach at all. So, anywho, yeah, so they get the epidural, go in, and it kicks in maybe about 7 minutes later. And I'm like, I was telling the anesthesiologist, like, please, can you put it in, like, in between the contractions, and they're already like 2 minutes apart, like, so he did it really fast, thankfully. By the time the epidural kicked in, you know, Joey came up to the hospital room finally, because after he parked, Amanda came up. We were waiting on Katie, and I felt like I was just dilating like super quick. It was 1:30, I was 4 centimeters, and then like an hour later, I was 6 centimeters.
These are your aunties. Auntie Katie and Auntie Amanda. This is your mommy. And this is your funny looking dad. And Grandpa is hanging out. Let's see your bracelets. You got this one.
And all of a sudden at 4 p.m., I was already at 10. And they're like, okay, you can start pushing. I'm like, what? I'm like, you know, they were telling me, like, you know, first baby, your labor is going to be a long time. Like, think about it. Like, it's going to be like 20 hours plus. whatever. Like, I just got to the hospital at 1:30, and I'm already pushing at 4. So the pushing process was definitely interesting. Baby was upside down, so they needed me to switch my positioning to try to get the baby to flip the other way. So I'm on my stomach now, and let me tell you, that was the most uncomfortable position ever. I think I had to lay on my stomach for like maybe 30 minutes. So I probably pushed for an hour with a 20-minute break in between because I was getting super dizzy. You know, at first my nurse was like, okay, girl, I want you to give me 3 pushes and we're getting this baby out. I'm like, okay, like I'm down with that, I'll try. Yeah, right, those pushes are hard. Anyway, so, you know, everybody's there now. Katie's there, Amanda's there. Amanda has my mom on FaceTime, but Joey's there, my dad's there, but he's like off to the side where they have the little baby bed for once the baby came out. Yeah, even having an epidural, you can definitely feel everything still. It's just not super painful. But I totally, you know, all of that just went away as soon as they got her out. You know, as soon as she came out, they put her right on my chest, and I wish we had video of it, but literally, like, she looked up, like, she was like right here, but she was like looking up at me, and her eyes just locked into my eyes, and I was like kind of like shocked, like starstruck, like, oh my God, like, you're finally here, you're not in my belly anymore, you're like right here in front of my face. And she wouldn't look away, like her eyes were literally locked. It's like she imprinted on me. It was the most amazing feeling ever, honestly. I can't explain it, I can't describe it. It just was amazing. Like, I instantly like fell in love. Well, you know, they let her stay on me for a little bit, and they're like sectioning her and getting all that fluid out of her mouth, out of her nose. And then they take her to go do their assessment and clean her up and stuff.
Okay. You're okay.
It's a nice one.
Oh, you waving? Oh, yeah.
guess my labor story isn't really that long because I was only at the hospital for like 4 hours before I actually had her. And I was super shocked too. I was not expecting her to come. Her due date was April 27th, so she decided to come a day early. She wanted to choose her own birthday. But yeah, overall the experience was, it happened really fast. I wasn't expecting it to happen so fast. Like, well, nurses were awesome. My doctor was amazing. Like, everybody was really great. Like, the whole experience was really great. I don't think there was a time where it was really bad. I mean, except for the contractions. The contractions are bad. Definitely something that was hard to deal with because I never really cry when it comes to something being in pain. I never cry, but those contractions got me bawling my eyes out. It's been 3 weeks now since I've given birth, 3 weeks and 1 day actually. So she is 3 weeks old. She's so cute, but I'm super happy and I'm really stoked to be a new mom. Joey's really awesome with her and she's just amazing.
Uh-huh.
Ah,
Look
she's
at
so
that.
cute.
Oh my
She's
goodness.
so cute. She's smiling. Did you smile? Ooh. Ooh. I love when you make that face. Ooh.